We call ourselves the Elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe! This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
We brought pro wrestling back!
All Elite Wrestling!
For the 62nd time, it's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
Don't you fucking do that to me. You break my heart. You break my heart, you know that? If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Friday morning with all of the latest news from All Elite Wrestling. Thanks to our EVPs, Chris Genro, Ale Avoth, Joe Pacat, James Kennamer, Andrew Garrett, SMTM, Kevin Bartlett, Elliot Muhlenfeld, Jim Ross, BossBadger, and all of our supporters on Patreon. That's right. In the words of the one and only Mr. Andrew WK, we don't have fans, we have friends. And our friends are the fuel in our tanks and the fire in our bellies to keep this STE train moving via financial contributions through our Patreon, our Pay What You Want subscription service, where you can support the show and score awesome exclusive perks for as little as $1 a month. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, movie nights, exclusive extended versions of each week's show, and getting to watch us record the show live. All of the money that we make goes into making this show better for you. It will always be free. But if you love what we do and you want to help us do more, please head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite. And if you are a patron, this Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, Mortal Kombat is our movie night, which is super exciting because I've never seen it before. So, and Jonathan has, so we'll be able to kind of...
Yeah, man.
You'll get fresh reaction and studied reaction at this point.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie in like close to 10, 15 years.
Sure.
I watched it when it came out, you know, because it was a big deal back then. A video game movie this is weird because all we had was Super Mario, and that was fucking ass. I mean, this isn't much better. It's pretty bad, but it's a lot of fun. It'll be a fun one. I'm glad we're watching this one and not the sequel. The sequel is hot garbage, but it'll be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a fun night.
It's weird because it's like the other way around in the games.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome bonus episode this week talking with a bunch of our EVPs about a number of different topics for a while. And that's always a blast, and we're going to keep that rolling into next month as Jonathan and I are currently in this content gauntlet of having to produce multiple hour shows a week.
Yeah, like we got this one, we got movie night, we got next week's show, we got Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
Get the Double or Nothing show, and then I'm recording an episode with my dad. It's
And that's if I don't do something special too. Patrons making out like a bandit. Now, of course, you can also go to get yourself a t-shirt at seeingtheelite.com if that's what you want to do. That also helps support the show and gets you something nice of a physical quality in the return, of course. But, you know, like JD and I always say on the show, you know, daddy eats first. Take care of yourself. first, and then if you got more to give, send it our way. Help support the show, but really make sure that you and the people in your life are taken care of with your money. We don't expect anything from anyone for this show, so those that do contribute, thank you so much. But
if you can't, or if you have to stop, we don't care. It's all good.
In this time,
we understand totally.
Don't matter. You don't need to apologize to us, man. We're just so thankful for the community that we have. It's fine.
We were talking about a little bit last night in Discord. Like, all we ask for anybody is just come hang out with us.
Yeah. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. But if you really want to be in with the crew, in with our incredible community, the community we have based around this show is the most wonderful in the world. Just an excellent pack of great friends who love AEW. Please head to tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Gets you the invite to our Discord server, of course, presided over by our server champion, Hennish14, whose belt is going on the line very soon at this point. So,
just a little over a week, and, just since we are just a little over a week out, the way you can take that belt from Hennish is you come into the Discord, you download the Pro Wrestling scorecards when they're available, you fill one out, and you roll the dice.
Yeah, we haven't decided what we're going to do for prizes yet, but we'll announce it next week.
Yeah, mainly because our go-to prize is not available this time.
Yeah, we will kick that can down the road as far as it goes. JD on the time codes where you can, but it's we got a big show today. Big show today. Starting out, we got to start out breaking news at the top. Very important. We got to talk about this at the beginning of the show before anything else. This is not a drill. Sheeta has started a YouTube channel.
Yeah, almost led to the cancellation of this recording tonight. But yeah, this is some seriously breaking news. The second item of breaking news is also just fucking mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, huge things. Huge news here, but
my world is falling apart.
You got to get on it. Sheeta YouTube channel. Find it on YouTube. Subscribe. I'm sure there's going to be all manner of piano solos, all manner of makeshift cosplay and learning how to use an oven, cooking tutorials, and drawing videos.
I mean, there's going to be all manner of commentary in our Discord of every video.
Oh man, just become fascinated with this woman's life, like I have, and then tell me of my experience. The other big news here, of course, is that and despite the fact that he tries to deny it, I have it on good authority that Jim Cornette and Joey Janela went to a Chili's and reportedly had a great time. So if he tries to deny this in public, if you see him trying to deny this in public, know that it did happen. What a mind-blowing, monumental event in wrestling history.
Have we seen any tweets about deniability or any of the sort yet?
I don't know. I don't even know if he's going to be able to lie his way out of this one, man. It happened. They had a great time at Chili's, which is what happens at Chili's.
It's true. The only thing that could be worse for Cornette right now is if he's seen in public with Orange Cassidy.
They're probably at a Chili's right now. We're going to start, as we always do on this show. Here we are 15 minutes in, with a quote. Quote, "It ultimately came down to the people in AEW were much more attentive to having me a part of AEW. The numbers were adding up in the right way. As I said, the prayers I was doing were leading me towards AEW, and just everything was leading me towards it. The opportunity to be a part of something that is growing. Help that and help AEW become even greater than it already is. That challenge was too enticing. Nothing was quick about the process. It took its time, and I made some tough decisions, but ultimately the right decision, in my opinion. And that's what led me to AEW, and now we're here, and I'm ready to kick some ass. End quote. That comes to us from Lance Archer, which there isn't really much to dissect here other than he, in no uncertain terms, says that AEW offered him more, and that's why he's there.
See, so I can see them offering. See, I don't even think maybe that they offered him more as much as that they offered him more creative freedom.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't really say that here. He specifically mentions the numbers. He specifically mentions being able to grow something that's younger, right? He doesn't mention creative freedom at all. And maybe that's because this interview is seemingly to a certain extent in kayfabe. And
that makes sense.
He doesn't want to be the guy that talks about like, oh, I can do whatever I want, unlike regular wrestling or whatever. Right, but it is interesting here that he, the way he talks about coming over to AEW is a lot more interestingly a lot more business-like than a lot of people when they talk about AEW, when they're like, oh, it's part of we're part of the dream or whatever, and he's like, the numbers were adding up, and they wanted me more than the other place did. Which, you know, not surprised. I mean, WWE, which would have been the other place he probably would have gone.
They have a glut of Hoss type characters currently.
Well, and just so much talent that they already don't know what to do with. Like,
yeah,
you have to be sitting there going like, okay, I can go to WWE and I can take the paychecks. I can work NXT shows and I can maybe get used, but probably not. Despite how big I am.
And I mean, let's be honest. Like, he goes to NXT, he is not going to be like in line for any championship anytime soon.
Yeah, it would be a long time. I mean, they've had Killer Cross on the payroll for what, like 5 months?
No. He's only been on the payroll for since like. Oh yeah, I guess maybe it is like 5 months. It doesn't seem like it's been as long, but like. I guess Scarlett's been on the payroll for a year now, and or damn close to it.
And the both of them like just debuted.
Yeah, like
and it's Killer Cross. Like it's not like this guy doesn't. They could have put him out the day they hired him, and he would have put on a good match. It would have been fine.
Yeah,
but he has to wait.
Like the entrance that they did for him and Scarlett was really dope, and it was really cool. But it was also like, we've waited this long for this. Like, I get it, dude's a straight up killer and he's gonna go places, but what are you really waiting for?
They give him a stupid WWE name, or
he chose that name actually,
or is he Killer Cross?
No, he's Karrion Kross.
Oh, yeah, that's a pretty stupid WWE name.
He picked it, man. He picked it. That's on him.
Let's talk about the rankings briefly, because they've all been kind of locked up at this point. As we head into the pay-per-view, everything's been kind of announced by the time we get to the show. Not everything, but most things.
As well as like most of the rankings haven't really changed much for the most part in the past 8 weeks.
In the tags division, number 5, Private Party. Number 4, Jurassic Express. Number 3, Young Bucks. Number 2, Best Friends. And number 1 is the fucking Dark Order?
Yeah,
what?
Still.
How?
Like the fucking Bucks haven't wrestled in 8 weeks either.
No, I know.
Yeah, the Dark Order are sitting at the top as like potential number 1 contenders, even though they've already announced the number 1 contender match for Double or Nothing. But yeah, the tag division has...
It's Private Party and the Dark Order aren't in it. It's Private Party and Best Friend. No, it's just confusing to me because they haven't been here. Like, I understand... like Jurassic Express and Private Party not overtaking the Young Bucks because none of them have been here, right? For the most part. But Best Friends have wrestled like every fucking week. Why would they not be higher than the Dark Order?
Yeah, like Best Friends were the only ones. They were not at the second Jacksonville taping,
right?
Which was the one where the empty crowd that was weird. But they came down for all the Norcross shows and were wrestling their asses off. And it's just, I don't know, man. The rankings haven't made sense since all everything that's been going on, but like even more so now.
That's so weird. Dark.
But like,
when was the last time fucking Uno and Grayson wrestled a match?
Before the first pandemic shows.
Yeah. Ages
like
ago.
they were on the first empty arena show where they introduced Brody.
Yeah.
But before that, it was weeks.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me, man. That's weird. I don't even know why they would want it to be like that now. Like, it almost makes me feel like it's just they're not putting any work into their rankings at all, because
it would be fine if they knew that. I mean, if Grayson and Uno had appeared in either in last week or this week in the tapings, even just appeared or did a video something,
right,
where they're on TV to remind people that, hey, we're still here and we're still fucking people up. But meanwhile, you have Brody out here with the masked underlings and 10. You haven't heard anything about the Beaver Boys. You haven't heard anything about Grayson and Uno. So it's like, are you guys still in the Dark Order? Like, I get it if you don't feel comfortable traveling. That's fine. I bet you have a fucking cell phone.
Well, but even then, like, my problem is not that they're not there. It's that, why are they so high on the rankings? Why are you using the rankings to promote them when they're not working for you right now?
Dude, the same could be said about the women's rankings, where half of the women's rankings aren't allowed in the country.
Yeah, that's weird too, but at least they're not at the fucking top. In the women's rankings, Riho at number 5, Yuka Sakazaki at number 4, Britt Baker at number 3, Chris Statlander at number 2, and Hikaru Shida, where she's been since I was a wee lad, at number 1.
Yeah, literally said this week 11 weeks.
Yeah, long time. Britt moved up, of course, to move Yuka Sakazaki down. Finally, Yuka Sakazaki's been number 3 in the rankings, and we haven't seen her in months.
And that's the thing about Yuka that really pisses me off is, like, she is a part-time talent and was able to wrestle a couple matches in February.
Yeah,
and they just dropped her into the rankings, and it's like, okay, cool, but. And now with everything going on, it's like, yeah, she's not going to be coming back anytime soon. Even if she is able to wrestle again, she's going to go be wrestling for Stardom for a while.
Like, how is Ford not on this list at all? And Yuka Sakazaki and Riho are? Like, what?
And,
what is going on?
Penelope, like, she's still green, but she's out here wrestling.
Right. In the men's singles division, Darby Allin at number 5, Brody Lee at number 4, Kenny Omega at number 3, Lance Archer at number 2, and Cody at number 1. This is all meaningless because Brody Lee is fighting Mox at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and then number 1 and number 2 are wrestling for the TNT title.
Excellent rankings, AEW. Thank you for that.
It's almost like this is like Marvez's job is to do the rankings, and he can't even be asked to do that.
You're so quick to blame Marvez just because we saw him twice this week.
Well, it's that, and it's also like Chief Intern and I have been watching through the old pay-per-views. Like, we're on we're still working our way through Double or Nothing, because shit happens. But like, oh god, his commentary on that show was so bad. And like, it got to be a point in the Dustin and Cody match where you can tell, like, TK was like, yo, shut the fuck up and let Excalibur and JR talk.
Poor Marvin.
Because it was like, 5 minutes in, he's like keeping a running tally going of just useless facts that mean nothing, and then it's like a switch flipped, and he was just done.
This week opens, being the Elite number 203, opens with an indignant Matt Jackson stuck at home making breakfast for the children, who just mistook him for a female from behind. But it's hard with his hair down, so chooses toast for breakfast as kind of a fuck it for the kids. And Matt pulls the bread from the toaster oven to see that his food is emblazoned with the letters FTR, which would have been difficult to, maybe with a stencil and a blowtorch would have been how you would have done it, but that's not easy, man.
That's not easy at all. That's really, really hard.
Kudos to them for going out and finding the hardware necessary to make that bit happen.
I mean, at this point, it's kind of getting to it's at the Matt Hardy level of like, if you don't do this, this is like a troll of epic levels.
Yeah, almost like the Hardy compound match, which we'll talk about later. We then get the several title cards, and man, this was the first week that I watched this show with headphones, and goddamn, are you right about them needing to equalize the audio, or just choose one of them? Just do the Marvel one or something, because
the problem is like you have a stable audio stream through the intros, and then you hit the Marvel one, and it's so loud,
so much louder. It's like that'll wake you up, man. After the titles, Matt and Nick give a little personal update. They're stir crazy and they're sick and tired of seeing the Inner Circle stand tall at the end of every Dynamite. That said, they're quite enjoying the longest stretch of uninterrupted family time that they've ever had at home. Probably by a long shot. I can't think of any time in their career where they would have been shelved for this long.
Not both of them.
But it's kind of weird because I feel like when you've been living the way that they live for so long, and your relationship, it's almost like moving in with someone for the first time at that point, because their relationships are kind of built around them getting in when they can get it, but not really having a lot of it, right? And now they're just at home all the time, and it kind of feels like when you're used to a relationship being one way, if it changes, even in a way that most people would say is for the better, it would be a difficult adjustment to go through. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's been like, it's been rough on us, as, our routines haven't really changed that much, but like these guys who they're used to traveling 3-5 days a week, and now you're home for 8 weeks.
Yeah. We then cut to Brandon Cutler, who is practicing kickouts on the floor when he receives a deafening call from Peter Avalon. Last week's kickout challenge is paused on the TV behind Avalon, and he's just finished it, and as such has called to gloat. Cutler nominates Avalon to try the kickout challenge for himself, and Avalon says, "All right, Brandon, you suck, and I'm going to powder out." We then get a, pause the multiverse, because it's time for a definition from Matt Hardy for powder out.
I fucking love these so much. This is so
it's
good.
Really doing it for you. I don't know how I feel about it at this point, but kudos to Matt for committing to the bit real hard at the very least.
I think that's probably why I love it, is that he is 100% committed to the bit. Like, if he was half-assing this would be stupid, but I mean, it's still stupid, but yeah.
CD then gives us a makeshift mask tutorial, which
was completely out of place and unnecessary and not needed at all.
Totally not BTE. Would have been more interesting if I hadn't already seen 5 different Facebook videos that already told me this. And
or
also,
if I'd seen it like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. Also, not to rip on CD too much, because we're going to talk about CD this week. But a lot of real...
Not to say fuck you, old man, but fuck you, old man.
A great deal of... I struggle to say lame dad energy from this video. Of just like, yeah, okay, man. Yeah, I know how to make a mask. All right. And for BTE, I'm just like, okay, dude. Yeah.
I understand the heart behind it, but it's like, you do realize I've seen this 1,000 times just living my life. Not to mention, like, I have masks that I have to wear when I go out.
Well, and then, so this is in between a setup for Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler bit and fucking Adam Page getting drunk in the woods, right? Like,
Yeah.
This is the time slot that this sincere mask tutorial is falling in between them. It's just not really the place at all.
And it's not. And like the thing that like really kind of bugged me the most is like the two places where you would really want this to be going out in, well, three places, internationally, New York and California, they've had mandatory mask laws in place for 3 or 4 weeks now, if not longer.
Well, and then, so I think the thing that really would have made it is if he did this in the hotel room and then Kaz came in and Kaz put on his shirt, because he's like, you can even cut off the bottom of a shirt. And Kaz put on his shirt and there was the bottom
hole
half,
right in the middle.
Right, the bottom of it was missing, right? And then it would have been like, oh, okay, there's a bit here. That would have made it worth it. But it didn't do it. It was just like a sincere masturbator, which, it's fine. It's just kind of a weird place for it, especially considering what came right after, which was fucking incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of been like the same thing we've been saying like about a lot of CD stuff is like it's kind of out of touch.
I don't think he's very funny. And
No,
it's
he's not.
fine. It's fine because like you can have other skills and just not be super funny and not really
But
have
he
the
tries
timing.
so hard to be funny.
He tries, and God bless his heart. But I don't think that he's funny. In the way that like a funny person is funny. I
Like
think
Hangman.
like Hangman, who Hangman might be the funniest fucking guy in the company. I don't even know. I don't even think it's close, honestly. Okay, so once again, Hangman Page stole the show this week, just like he did last week. God bless Adam Page. He says that last week he had a bit of a freak out because he felt that he really wasn't doing enough to protect himself and others from COVID-19. So Hangman packed a bag of, quote, essential survival items, which was his title in a bunch of bottles. The shot here where he picks up the bag and you can hear the clanking inside, and then he looks at the camera all nervous as if, like, did you hear that? The funniest fucking thing I saw all week.
Dude, it was like 100% like, I'm not an alcoholic, I swear. And then you just hear clank, clank, clank. Like, bro, how much fucking whiskey did you put in the bag?
I don't think I've replayed something as much on BTE as that moment. No words, didn't need words. It was just that he said essential survival items and then he picks up the bag and you hear the clank. And his look into the camera, just beautiful execution comedically, so good.
For me, this is right up here with that moment from like over a year ago where Cody, Brandy, and Hangman were at the draft night, and Hangman's on the practice field just running laps and just fucking sprinting, and Cody's like, "The fuck are you doing, man?"
It's just. So his thing is that he's going to, quote, get drunk and live in the woods, end quote. And then cue the hilarious Dynamite-inspired Hangman gets drunk and lives in the woods title card, which if he's doing that editing at home or if he's pawning it off on someone, it looks awesome.
I think Excalibur is doing that, and I thank you so much for this, Excalibur, if it's you, because that was so good.
Drunk Hangman joins us in the woods and speaks directly to the camera. He states that his primary reason for coming to the woods is that no one else is out there, so he can't get corona from anyone, and conversely, no one can catch corona from him. He knows that there are some great side effects. He feels free in the wilderness. He can, for instance, sleep all night and stay up all day if he wants to. Which I love that he got that mixed around because it makes it even more tame.
That's Hangman for you, man.
He can also say whatever he wants as loud as he likes. He can just yell it out, like things like boobs and I'm afraid I'll never reach the fame and achievements of my peers and be a big disappointment to my friends and family.
We started off like, oh, okay, cool. He's like a little kid, and then we just nosedive into like some serious psychological damage.
He's a genius. He's a guy. It's so funny. Hangman then goes about violently murdering a squirrel with a spear and his boots, basically, and then cooks it. And it's great. He tries giving us this history lesson on squirrel meat as a food in the American West, but then finds that he can't stomach actually eating squirrel, which
It's not
is
that
great.
bad.
Hangman then signs off for the night, saying that it's not so lonely out in the woods. He saw RJ Barrett the other night and heard Post Malone playing at some time after that. He then pauses and promises to check in next week to end the segment. And man, just rolling throughout this thing, so beautiful. I watched it the one time that I watched it through on its own, and then I watched it. God, I rewatched this segment several times this week.
It was really, really good.
After this,
I kind of want just a Hangman TV show.
Peter Avalon steps out onto his driveway with a mask and the Ron Chernow Hamilton biography. He's stunned to see a ref, a ring announcer, and a mat, and a young woman in a mask, a Batman cutoff T-shirt, and yoga pants. Avalon shaved for this, which is shocking because he's been rocking that beard the whole time, but he's clean shaven down to the mustache again. The announcer introduced himself as John Roberts, which is hilarious because he's an announcer and his last name is Roberts, and then introduces Avalon's opponent, Neighbor Steve, and referee Nick Bonanno. Here's what I want to say. I'm not like a homosexual personally, but
God.
but
We're gonna have to cut this out.
neighbor Steve Neighbor Steve made me feel things, which I've never felt for a man before. That's all I wanted to say.
I'm glad you have so much trouble distinguishing genders. You remind me of a young Goku.
Are you trying to tell me that Neighbor Steve was a woman?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm glad you didn't have to do the pat test.
Avalon survives a number of pin attempts from Neighbor Steve, and then tries to wrap it up. He's like, "Oh, we're all good here, guys," only to get caught in a roll-up and pinned by Neighbor Steve, who takes home the win. And congratulations to Neighbor Steve, a really great first outing to have a victory. I wonder if that will count against her record. Not that it'll matter because the records are completely fucked. Scorpio Sky.
I mean, it'll count. It'll definitely count against Peter Avalon's. Him and Cutler are gonna come back on TV, and there's like the record at the bottom is just gonna be like 0.99.
Scorpio Sky and Frankie playing quarters is amazing. I could watch this as a whole show. I love the camera showing a bunch of bottles and Scorpio saying, "Don't show the drinks, don't show the hot stuff." I love that they have bottles of drinks next to bottles of hot stuff. That's very very SCU. Sky doing a damn decent Eddie Murphy impression through the whole beginning of this, which I loved. I don't know if anybody else thought that's what he was doing, but that's what it felt like he was doing to me. The joke here is that Sky and Frankie play quarters, but Sky is not good at it and is very competitive. And by the time CD catches on, Scorpio is too frustrated to continue. They then have a testimonial with CD. He's interviewed by Trevor, which is funny, where he expresses that his disappointment that he wasn't asked to be involved in the quarters in the first place. And hilariously, the bit that makes this whole thing worth it is that CD's lower third reads "very bald wrestler" in all caps, which I lost my shit at, to be honest. I thought
I
that was
did.
so
I did
funny.
too. It was great. It's just, and then seeing Trevor again, he's like, "You piece of shit." You're like, yeah, I missed that so much.
There's a weird scene here with Tan Justin Roberts just sitting in a closet looking around.
Yeah, I guess he's kidnapped, but man, motherfucker's been sitting in the sun.
Oh, is that what they're trying to say here? Is that he's been kidnapped?
I guess, I don't know. It was weird, but it's like quarantine Justin Roberts has been working on his tan.
Yeah.
He's starting to look like what's his face? That old guy who's on the TV shows a lot.
Donald Trump.
That's one of them. I meant the gun nut guy, but yeah, that works too. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm probably still still Trump. It's whatever.
We then get a recap of the private party storyline up until now. And the recap doesn't really make the plot any easier to follow. It does end with a funny executive producer, Dick Wolf, which I always appreciate. And then we see Quen waking up and remembering that it was the bear that had jumped him. And so now both Quen and Cassidy have put it together. And that's really all that we get for this segment, other than Hangman getting a call, which he accepts on a leaf, which is hilarious. Assumedly from the bear.
Of course, because it's Hangman and he can make technology out of anything.
Right. He's like a weird MacGyver in that way. The quote from Hangman is it done? On the brick, too. Yeah, they're gone for good. Tell your friend Bones I won't forget about this. End quote. But still, where is this going? Weird scene where Marco Stunt gets a knock at his door only to find a map that says it leads to JE, which he assumes means Jurassic Express. He then follows the map to the edge of the forest and starts pumping his fists and yelling, "I made it." And the last thing we get from that is some guy looking out his window and being like, "What is this guy doing?" And a to be continued. So we'll see where that goes. But
I feel like that's tying into Luchasaurus's tail.
Maybe. Hopefully it's tying into something. For the love of God.
I was glad to see Marco on BTE. I don't think we've seen him on there before. That was pretty cool.
We've seen him on there before, but it's been a while. Matt brags about his tennis skills and then gets murked by his two brothers. And the game is called after the brothers forfeit due to worry that Matt has lost too much blood in a terrible collision with the fence.
Yeah, blood. Okay, yeah, or strawberry jam.
The final scene I thought was awesome this week. Alex Marvez enters Kenny's room after the street fight to congratulate him. Kenny excitedly asks if he looked like a real fighter during the match. This is after the street fight. He apparently devoted a great deal of study to this. Marvez says, "I don't want to lie to you because you're my friend and I have so much respect for you. But it was a great match." End quote. And Kenny tells Marvez to get out. He then calls in Chuck Taylor. He calls him in from the hall, and their chemistry together. Chuck's hilarious, and Kenny working with him. I don't understand why these two aren't putting out segments together every week, because it's so funny. Quote, look, man, I don't want to ask opinions of amateurs, but we go way back. It just fucking shits on him immediately. He says, first street fight, can you believe it? And Chuck can totally believe it. And Kenny is hurt, you know? He taped his hands. He put knee pads on over his jeans. He even threw closed fist punches, you know? And
then we had the line of the episode.
Greg saying, I've never seen a moonsault off a balcony in a street fight, in a real street fight. Kenny says, get out. Then he calls in AEW Vice President of Business Strategy, Chris Mookie Harrington. And he says, look, you're the ultimate yes man, okay? You're the ultimate little pussy bitch. He says, would you believe today's match was my first ever street fight? And Harrington says, yes, you look like you've never been in a fight in your real life. And Kenny is just aghast by this. He cut the sleeves off his t-shirt, for God's sake. Harrington then says, Kenny, even I could kick your ass in a real fight. And Kenny, of course, replies, why don't you say it to my face? And Harrington yells it in Kenny's face. Kenny immediately backing up. He's like, okay, I was just asking. You don't have to go crazy on me. And Harrington exits, which is hilarious. And then, of course, it ends perfectly with Colt coming in to, like, he was like, hey, I heard what happened, and I just wanted to say, like, you did look like, and then, but Kenny's pissed. Kenny chases him out.
Can't handle it, yeah, no, because it's Colt. Because I love that this was how Colt inserted himself into this episode, because it was like, oh man, I was like, we're not going to see Colt, we're going to break the streak, and then boom.
Right there at the final moments. So good, so funny, and a great way to end it. I really, really like that. Him calling Harrington the ultimate little pussy bitch. I can't, man. Road 2. So I want to talk about Road 2 this week. I really liked Road 2 this week. It opened with Cody and Jungle Boy sitting in the stands at Daly's place, and Jungle Boy asks Cody for tips on dealing with MJF. And I love Cody's response here. The quote in particular that I think is awesome is he said, I lost my privilege to bury him because he beat me, end quote.
Yeah.
And the psychology, he's like, I can't really help you, Jungle Boy. And I can't really
he beat my ass. Yeah.
Right, undermine what he was because I lost, right? And I love that was his point of view, and I thought that was really cool. But basically the advice that he gives to Jungle Boy is just like, don't let him control you psychologically.
The MJF is like really big on counter wrestling, and stay ahead of that, because as he starts countering you, he will get into your head, and once he's in your head, he's got you beat.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Road 2 this week. I kind of like, what I didn't enjoy is that there wasn't really anything leading to Double or Nothing other than this like 2 minutes here. Everything else was like a recap and getting you ready for Dynamite, which is like, okay, that's fair, but like, if you're calling this Road to Double or Nothing, I want you to progress those storylines.
I hadn't thought about that personally, but you're absolutely right. There really isn't anything on here for Double or Nothing apart from Cody and Jungle Boy. Jen Decker came to fucking play with her outfit this week, though, man. Woo! My God. She did a breakdown of the women's four-way that was again coming for Dynamite. And it's funny, you can tell that she did this from home because she's
in her bedroom.
She's in front of a wall of baseball memorabilia. Her husband, of course, a famous baseball player. So,
yeah, and she also hosts a like baseball-centric podcast with her husband.
Sure.
But it was just like, okay, so you're in your bedroom and you just went like full club, and like, okay, I'm here for it, but whatever you need to do.
It was a wonderful outfit. I thought she pulled out all the stops.
Good
Dasha,
thing she didn't sneeze or anything.
we have to talk about Dasha motherfucking Gonzalez, who is amazing. She had an interview with Tony Schiavone this week.
In a show house that they just went into because they had the sandwich board sitting next to the door that was in frame. There's like open house.
Oh, did they? That's so funny. That's so funny. I think this was really, really cool. They talked about her history, her wrestling training, but more than that, this was to get people ready for her being on the second season of Titan Games. Are you familiar with the Titan Games?
Isn't this like The Rock's like shitty TV show on Netflix?
No, it's not on Netflix. It's on Fox, maybe. And it's
on
not
Netflix.
shitty. How dare you? It's
like a fucking Ninja Warrior ripoff, but it's weekly, right?
No. Okay. First of all, no. It's not. I'm actually.
But yes.
I'm surprised by how un-Ninja Warrior it is. The only part that's maybe kind of Ninja Warrior is the third obstacle, but it's like Ninja Warrior, but instead of them being like grip strength and kind of like parkour based tests, they're a lot more kind of like lifting tests. So instead of
same similar idea, but instead of grip strength, we were going with like actual like.
But it's not like
weightlifting strength.
it's not like an obstacle course. The two competitors. I'm not going to spend this whole time talking about the Titan Games, even though they're great. Instead, it's two competitors facing off, and the test is for they've got like two doors facing each other, and they have to use a battering ram to take down these giant wooden doors and get through in order to ring the bell first. And like it's a lot more about strength tests. Or they're hooked up to a harness and they're trying to pull stone through these stone floors, right? Like stuff like that. It's a lot more sort of lifting based stuff than Ninja Warrior stuff, but it is, I would say it's maybe closer to Gladiators than American Gladiators than it is Ninja Warrior. But it still has the shitty, like, you ever watch one of these shows where like they start telling you about the people's like fucking lives and shit, and you're like, I don't care.
Like Ninja Warrior?
Like Ninja Warrior, yeah. Ninja Warrior will be like, oh man, this is Steve, and then they go to Steve's house and show you his fucking kids and stuff, and you're like, all right, Steve, what's going on? He's like,
I don't give a shit. Just
yeah. He's like, I was in the army for 12 years, and then it's like, Steve, I don't care about your fucking life. And then he gets up there and he like beefs it on the third obstacle or something like that. You're like, wow, that was great. Thanks for that show.
See, that's why I love like the Japanese version of Ninja Warrior when it was airing on G4, because you didn't have any of this shit.
No.
You were just like, okay, here's what's his face, go.
Yeah.
I'm like, dope. Let's do this.
The run is all I'm here for. I don't really give a shit about this dude's fucking life and stuff, But
yeah, like I appreciate your gimmick and your gas station uniform, but get your fucking ass on those obstacles.
But I love man, Dasha seems so cool, and I'm excited to watch her on the Titan Games. And it's really cool that she's going to be a part of it, and I hope that she goes far. I hope that she makes it onto the leaderboard and comes back for the Champions episode and whatever. And it's cool, an opportunity for AEW to cross promote with Dwayne's show.
And Fox, which they shouldn't be talking about.
Yeah, maybe they won't talk about her AEW work at all, which would be really fucking funny. We then move on to the almost the final scene for the show, which is the Pineapple Pete thing. And I thought this was awesome, man. I thought it was awesome.
I did as well, and like they kind of did parts of this on Dynamite again, but man, this was really, really good.
Yeah, they used like different parts of it on Dynamite. So quote, I spent a lot of time in my career with a broken compass. Your friends are getting signed, and you were in those same cars. It really sets on you. Am I that bad? He then did the quote, which, oh man, he says, quote, if I give up everything right now, how close was I? And he takes these beautiful, impassioned lines, and he tells a story of what it's like to be an indie wrestler for 16 years, as he says. And it breaks my heart because I think anybody who's done something that they're passionate about understands his struggle. I know I've felt that exact same thing as a musician, as a podcaster, as anything that I've done creatively, of being like, man, like, you don't see the success, but like, if you give up now and you resign yourself to a life of not doing the thing that you care about, which is unthinkable, like, how close were you to breaking through to a point where you at least didn't have to worry about it anymore?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things. It's like the parts of Road 2 that you like, you know, we went for so long where we didn't have these segments. This is more like the Road 2 for Double or Nothing, the original.
Yeah.
And you have these like really compelling, heartbreaking segments. And I mean, like, yeah, like I've been there. Like, you know, we did a fucking Lucha Underground podcast for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Barely had any listeners.
Oh yeah.
We started doing this one, and then, you know, it kind of, for us at least, it exploded, and we are so thankful and so happy that everybody's still listening to us for some reason.
But we could have very easily, it wasn't a decision that we just made to keep doing it. Like, we were sitting there at the end of Lucha Underground, like the decision had been made for us. That show was over. There was nothing left to talk about. So we did have to sit there and be like, do we want to keep going or what, man? You know, what do we want to do? So
we were very fortunate that AEW had started when it did, because like we'd been off for about a month, maybe two.
Right.
And, you know, AEW was getting really heavy, and like it was actually happening. It wasn't just like, oh, cool, another wrestling promotion like Jeff Jarrett's bullshit.
Right.
And it was, you know, we kind of got lucky that it happened when it did, and we just like, fuck it, let's do it. If it lasts for a show, you know, we'll have a fun few weeks.
Right. So I thought he did a great job, and you know, Cody put out this tweet today where he sort of thanked certain dudes and said, hey, I hope these guys get booked all over the world, which, like, good luck right now, but in the future, I think he means, which Pineapple Pete was not on that list, so maybe something big has happened for him, and I hope that it has, because I think he's a really great promo, and I think there's something there.
I think there's something there too. It was kind of a little tiny bit unfortunate, you know, he got squashed on Dynamite, but like we knew that was happening.
Fucked up on Dynamite, dude. I was so hoping that he would have a good showing, and he didn't, and it was like a crash back to reality in the best way. But we're gonna talk about that.
That's his own fault. He bitch slapped Chris Jericho. You get what you deserve.
We then got this Dark Order parking lot scene, where
this was fucked up, man.
The Dark Order. So 2 members of the Dark Order are hanging flyers. This jockey guy comes up and starts picking on them, and then Brody Lee comes in and beats the crap out of this guy and rides away in his Escalade, from the looks of it. I
love that, like, just like 10 was in the back of the Escalade, no shirt on, and just pops out with Brody.
I was surprised that that the point of this was not for him to then turn to the Dark Order members who were like losing that fight and ream them out for losing that fight.
That's what I was expecting.
Yeah. but they didn't do that. Instead, he helped them. He like legitimately helped them, and then there was kind of no darker side to it, which is kind of interesting. And interesting to speculate why they did it that way, because it felt like the easy thing to do would have been to make fun of the old pro wrestling school or pro wrestling feeling where, you know, if you're going to get in a bar fight, you better not lose because you'll be fired, because then everyone will know that you're a wimp because you lost a bar fight, right? So with his Dark Order being, oh, we have no place for weakness or whatever, right? You'd think he would have turned to them and been like, yeah, how dare you lose this fight to this person, or allow yourself to be picked on and be a member of the Dark Order. But that's not the direction that they went with it, which is kind of interesting. Let's talk about AEW Dark, which was supersized this week. Huge. 1 hour and 15 minutes. It's like the fucking Mandalorian over here. The episodes just last as long or as short as they fucking want them to. And there's no no rhyme or reason paid to how long the episodes are. One of them's 30 minutes. The next one's 45. No one cares. You know, it's the Wild West.
Your goal is right now is just to piss Adam off as much as you possibly can, isn't it?
I just think it's weird is all, you know? AEW Dark, though, Dasha opened the show, her dress game on point. That thing was awesome. Tazz and Excalibur on commentary.
So I'm not entirely sure it was a dress. I think it was like a romper, because it kind of looked like it had like shorts on it. But again, same comment as Jen Decker. I'm so glad she didn't sneeze, because
all the ladies
would have been gone. Dude,
all the ladies just coming out of the woodwork with these amazing dresses. I'm not even trying to sound like a weird horn dog, although I'm sure that I do. I appreciate
yeah.
I appreciate the dress game here. It's impressive that they're so well fitted with wonderful outfits amid this really unprecedented time. They just have these amazing outfits just sitting in their closets, and I'm sitting over here like all of my sweatpants are dirty, you know, at home, and that's tough, man.
Okay, so I've learned this. It's just a girl thing.
Oh, okay.
Because like I've asked Chief Intern this, and she was like, "Yeah, if for whatever reason, you know, hypothetical, club's open tomorrow, and we were going to the club, yeah, I got to dress ready." And I'm like, really? I don't even think I have like pants to wear. Like I have to find pants again, because it's a lost thing to me. And like a shirt, I'd have to find a nice shirt.
Have to go on a quest to find a shirt.
Yeah, and she's like, "No, 5 minutes. I'm ready. I'm looking super hot." And I'm like,
"Yeah, that's what she says."
Wow.
She says 5 minutes, but
like still, it's just so impressive. It's like, wow.
Sean Dean versus Colt Cabana opened the show, and the refs wear masks in all of the matches throughout AEW Dark tonight, which I thought was cool and nice, and then they didn't do it the next day.
Yeah, that's the kind of, they didn't do it and this was filmed like probably before Dynamite or before last night's Dynamite, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah,
you
really.
Can wear the masks on TV, guys.
Really weird. Really, really weird.
The ring crew is.
I don't know what it was. If maybe they did Dark and then they were like, "Oh, it doesn't look right for TV or whatever." But like, fuck TV, man. Like, if it's gonna make people safer, like, okay, Aubrey can wear a fucking mask. I don't, but I don't know.
Only thing I can think of is like maybe it was rough on them wearing the masks, because doing refs are still very athletic and moving around a lot, and wearing a mask like that, it does hinder your breathing.
Sure,
that's the only thing a reasonable argument I could say.
Well, okay. Sean Dean,
good one.
Sean Dean versus Colt Cabana opened the show. I thought it was fine. Sean Dean does well enough. There's not much of a story to it. Colt is pretty cocky throughout. Light sort of heel work from him. Colt ends up winning with a Superman pin on Sean Dean, rather unceremoniously. It's a quick bout, and man, so I'll say this thing was supersized. And so by the second match, Mike Reed, no relation, and Ryan Rembrandt versus Jurassic Express, the fatigue had like already set in for me. It was another enhancement match with basically the same story, and it's just kind of tiresome. As good as some of these matches were, and I thought they were all decent at the very least, none of it felt like it was of consequence at all.
Even though they built up the main event to be that way, and it still wasn't.
Well, that had its own fucking problems. Jesus Christ, are we?
We'll get to that. But like, I felt the same way. Like, I enjoyed this because like I turned this on when I was cooking dinner last night.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun and like it was good background noise kind of stuff. But for the most part, like, this didn't need to happen.
Well, and I would have been fine if this episode was half as long, and the match was, instead of Mike Reed and Ryan Rembrandt versus Jurassic Express and Lee Johnson and Musa versus Private Party, if it was Jurassic Express versus Private Party.
Or like Colt versus Phoenix.
Right.
Actually, I enjoyed that match, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Angles Angles was one of the people that was on this like Cody like future endeavors list basically on Twitter, and I don't know how they're letting that guy go because he had great matches with Kenny and Phoenix.
That match with Phoenix was a superstar match.
That was awesome. That was fucking awesome. Anyway, Mike Reed looks more like Billy Gunn than his actual son does, and that freaked me out throughout the match. But
the funny thing about Mike Reed is he was on Dark Tuesday night, and then he was on NXT on Wednesday night.
Oof. Oh no, Mike Reed. Luchasaurus ends up pinning Mike Reed off of that.
Actually, he was on Dynamite too. I saw him in the crowd.
Jesus, Mike, what are you doing? He's everywhere, man. He's working them all. Lee Johnson and Musa versus Private Party. Wonderful to see Private Party again in a match that isn't with a bear. I liked this match more, but also Private Party's style is, by all accounts, my fucking shit. And so, of course, I'm going to like seeing them wrestle again. Musa and Johnson, I thought, did a good job, but again, it's just kind of the same deal. It was a quick win for Private Party that never felt like it was going to go the other way at any point.
This match felt to me like how you described the Planet Smashers, of like, it felt like we were going there, but it never like really crested.
Yeah, they never really pop off. And and I like that band, but it feels like they get right up to the point where they're going to drop the bass or whatever, right? And then it just never really does that. I did Quen ended up picking up the win over Johnson with the Shooting Star Press, and then we moved on to 10 versus John Cruz. I liked John. I thought John Cruz was kind of cool.
That's Serpentico.
Oh, maybe that's why I liked him so much. He was kind of like
a
flippier. It's funny, he looked a lot like Gargano. He had like a Gargano face. And I didn't think he was, of course he was outclassed by Vance in terms of like the booking for the match. Vance ended up winning with the spine buster in pretty quick fashion. And then I did like that Brody came to the stage and like slow clapped at the end of it. I thought that was nice. But
for me, like I feel like, and this is just because I've seen Serpentico wrestle around here.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a much better talent.
Oh, probably.
Because he's kind of like that journeyman lucha guy, but he's really fucking good. He hasn't had that opportunity to really just pop off and impress someone yet.
Yeah.
I'd hoped that this was that. It's still kind of a bummer he wasn't wrestling in his mask because his mask is fucking dope. But I could see why they didn't want, the two masked guys wrestling each other.
Yeah, now that you mention it, that's not great. Phoenix versus Alan. It's funny, I've seen his name spelled like 3 different ways now by the company. So
Same.
Alan Angels. I thought that match fucking rocked, dude. I thought that match was great. Just perfect for Alan Angles. X clears up that Phoenix is stuck here in the U.S. while his compatriots Pentagon and Pac are stuck in Mexico and the UK respectively. So that is the situation right now, which we knew at least of Pentagon. Pac was kind of whereabouts unknown, but I'm sure he's somewhere just fucking slamming weights, dude. Just
slamming weights, just muscles on his muscles, punching holes in walls.
Just becoming a muscular singularity right now. Just evolving. He's going to evolve beyond the need for a physical form and become a force ghost, basically.
He's gonna show back up in AEW, and he's gonna start sweating, and the ring is gonna start melting from the fucking steroids in his blood system. We had talked about this about Pentagon and Phoenix. I've heard they both have places in California. Sure. Pentagon was in Mexico and obviously didn't realize the direness of the situation and just was like, I'll come back.
Yeah,
and
we all
because
remember.
He's not a citizen.
We all remember that this thing blew up in like a fucking 2-3 days, basically. That this thing was like, oh, this might be a thing, and everyone was like, oh, okay, and then it was like, it's definitely a thing, and everything needs to shut down. So,
which it's kind of a little unfortunate because like Phoenix can't go home to Mexico to check on any of his family because if he does, he can't come back.
Yeesh. I mean, I don't know what the citizenship status is on either of those guys. But, it's a tough break. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough break all around, though, so, like... But, it feels like both of these guys had a bunch of stakes. Phoenix coming back, needing to prove himself. Alan Angles, like, knowing that this is a big shot for him. I thought that was awesome. And Phoenix ended up winning with that muscle buster Michinoku driver that he does.
Super, super savage and... He was stiff this whole match, man.
Dude, Phoenix was stiff his whole fucking life this week. It was nuts. Danny Jordan versus Chris Statlander followed. Statlander's character development that she teased after the Revolution match is apparently on hold because she was back to doing the alien thing and the boops and shit this whole match.
I think that they kind of that may have gotten lost in the shuffle with Chris not showing up to the first set of tapings or the Norcross tapings, and then coming back now, and it's like, okay, we gotta figure out where we're gonna put you back and how we're gonna work you back into the story and what your character is going to be.
Yeah, I like Danny Jordan. I like Danny Jordan a lot. I thought her moveset was exciting. But it looks like she's also parted ways. These two I thought worked pretty well together. Statlander works pretty well with everyone. And Statlander ended up pulling the win off of a Big Bang Theory. We then moved on to Orange Cassidy versus Jason Cade. Jason Cade is that fucking guy. The guy who was hanging out with Leva.
Okay.
Cool. From those sketches, right? Yeah. Weird that he's used all of a sudden now. Best friend, I did love Best Friends coming out and trying to sell those towels, man.
Fuck, I loved it, dude. Like, Chuck posted on Twitter before Dark went up. It's like, yeah, we threw out all the guns for OC's entrance tonight.
just hawking them towels, bro. I want one of those towels. I thought the match was a lot of fun. Kade and Cassidy, I thought, came up with some fun bits. Kade hit Cassidy with a nasty flying knee, which Cassidy sold like a gunshot. It was ridiculous. And then Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match with a roll-up. And Kade threw a tantrum as Chuck and Trent continued trying to sell some towels at ringside, which was hilarious.
Clearly it worked.
It worked. Hey, man, you got to get rid of them. You got to move the towels. Otherwise, you can't order more towels. Skylar Moore versus Britt Baker. Hello, Skylar Moore. And apparently goodbye, Skylar Moore, because she's also on the list of cuts this week. Or temps that expired. X calls Britt Baker Brick Breaker on commentary, which I think is hilarious. Excalibur just playing his phone. So the story here is that Britt almost gets her nose hit again early on in the match, and then spends the rest of the match just freaking out and inflicting pain. And it's a fine match. Baker is improving, especially with her characterization in the ring. Her moveset is still pretty bare bones, and her performance isn't terribly crisp, but she's getting markedly better. And it's important for me to note that, because people, we've been characterized, Jonathan, as being pretty hard on Britt Baker, and we are. But she she is getting better, I think. For what it's worth. She is
getting better. Like, it's slow going, and to be on the main stage and the push that she's received, it should not be slow going.
Well, you're right. And we've talked about it before, but like, I think by the time you're on this stage, getting better should be something you already did before. Not something you're doing now. But anyway, she wins with a lockjaw. And we move on to the main event. The much hyped, with months of build-up. Luther.
Accidental build-up, but yeah.
Luther versus Jimmy Havoc in a death match.
Was there even any fucking blood in this match?
No.
Okay, then don't call it a death match.
This match... Woof, man. Was so fucking tame. And, and like, not completely, they did a spot where Jimmy Havoc's flat back landed on the top of an open chair, which couldn't have been comfortable, but they, they hyped this thing for so long. Oh, Deathmatch King versus Deathmatch King. Like, it's going to be this whole fucking thing, man. Oh, my God. And it wasn't. It was fine. It wasn't even fine. It wasn't good. And I still, after this match, Havoc, whatever. They want to keep Havoc. He's fine. Luther, I'm like, why, guys? I really was surprised by how not good I thought this match was. Just boring and slow. The only thing they did that was remotely, they hyped up them both being deathmatch guys, and then they hit each other with a couple of chairs. And not even in particularly brutal fashions either. And that was it. That was all they did. It's like, oh, really? It's pretty sad. I don't know. How did you feel about it?
Yeah. Yeah. I was very underwhelmed by this. Is supposed to be it's like you said, I've seen some hardcore shit out of Jimmy Havoc in AEW, and I've been excited about that, and like, cool, like they're kind of tame it down because they don't want to get in trouble with TNT. I get that, fine. But like, we pulled Jimmy Havoc in, and like, maybe it was just like more contrasting for me, is like, watching Double or Nothing recently, and seeing, he comes out and he's got a fucking staple gun and he's stapling Tommy Dreamer's sack to his leg.
Right.
I want that guy. And then you got Luther here, who's been made up to be this gigantic deathmatch god. I'm the Japanese New Jack and Sandman, and I'm the king and predecessor of all that there is deathmatch. And I'm like, bro, give me fucking Sandman, because at least then I'll be entertained. You're
Rough,
just an old washed up dude with a shitty gimmick who's frankly very insulting and very. I find it very offensive.
Yeah, it was really weird, man. I really don't know what and maybe the fact that it was built up for so long and that's not really what they were intending to do. They wanted it to be this quicker thing, is what made it worse. But then I don't know why you'd put it at the end of the show this week if that was going to be the case, Well,
like, I know they've been building this up, and I get it. Like, there's a reason to build this up. It's supposed to be this big deal, but it's like, if you're going to go deathmatch versus deathmatch and you're going to put this shit on,
yeah.
This is the same thing to me as, like, the fucking Moxley-Hager match. Like, you hyped this up so hard, and you whiffed. You whiffed even harder. And, like, you could have put a legit death match on YouTube. It's not that big of a deal.
But I don't think they could have. I think this is what these guys can do. I think maybe they could have put a little more blood. Those guys could have handled a little more blood, but I don't know. As far as I know, and I understand there are people who probably go way further back with both of these performers, and no, this isn't even close to what they can do. They can do way better, but okay. Show me that. Show me that in AEW, or don't work here. If you only have one thing that you do, and this company won't let you do it, you shouldn't work here. But I digress.
And I know Jimmy Havoc is more of probably doing more backstage stuff, which cool. Go for that and just be out there healing it up with Kip and Penelope. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
But why the fuck is Luther here?
I don't know.
No one can no one can tell me other than, oh, he's Jericho's really best friend and it was at his wedding and shit. Like, okay, cool, nepotism, gotcha.
Well, he was brought in for the Nightmare Collective, and then that dissolved, and then they didn't really have anything for him, unfortunately.
But even in the Nightmare Collective, he never wrestled a match.
No.
And
Let's talk some news. MMA movie made in Saskatchewan gets international digital debut. Matt Olson for the Saskatchewan Phoenix. Quote, "This whole movie's been a 12-round fight from the get-go," end quote, says producer Shane Putzlucher. Less than 2 weeks before the premiere of the new mixed martial arts movie Cagefighter, Worlds Collide, the final bell still hasn't rung on the bout. It's to be expected with a movie featuring world-class actors and MMA fighters alike, including some high-energy fight stunts and choreography, and filmed extensively in Regina, Saskatchewan. Just like a real fight, everyone is working behind the scenes as hard as they can until the last possible moment. Quote, "We know we're throwing everything we have at this," end quote, producer Sarah Schock said. And quote, "We're grinding it out, just being really proud of what we've pulled off here," end quote. Cagefighter Worlds Collide stars London-based MMA fighter Alex Monteganami in the leading role, with the other world-renowned fighters like UFC Hall of Famer and former light heavyweight champion Chuck Liddell, former middleweight champion Luke Rockhold, and pro wrestling stars John Moxley and Jay Riso, also featured. Jay Riso, editor's note for those who don't know, is Christian. Renowned actress Gina Gershon plays a shrewd fight promoter in the fighter-filled cast. The film was scheduled to have a limited theatrical release in 2020, and the producers were working on securing a special Canadian release as well. since much of the movie was shot and edited in Regina. A list of cast and crew members make their homes or have family connections to Saskatchewan. Due to COVID-19, the team started thinking outside the box, or the octagon, for creative ways to premiere the movie. That's when they got deep into discussion with Fight TV, a digital subscription and pay-per-view service that specializes in sporting events. Then the producers were struck with a thought. If premiering this product like a normal movie was going to be tough, why not market it like a once-in-a-lifetime MMA fight? Quote, when the COVID started happening, we started saying, what if we just look at it like doing a one-night event, end quote, Putzluker said. Quote, people are commenting, is this a real fight? And that's what we wanted, for people to start talking about it, end quote. The movie premiere, featuring world-famous MMA and wrestling stars alongside top-tier Saskatchewan talent, will take place as a one-night-only live stream event on May 16th on Fight TV, just like an actual MMA fight or getting a ticket to a movie at a theater. The premiere will be a pay-per-view experience. Each showing of the film in different time zones will be followed by a live roundtable Q&A with some of the stars. The new release date of May 16th is months ahead of the original plan, so the film editors and producers have been working nonstop to have the movie ready in time. The investment of time and money from the folks in the Canadian prairie has not gone unnoticed. Quote, one of the cool things is that the whole movie is a big shout out to Saskatchewan, really, Shock said. A lot of actors are doing tons of press, and they're all talking about being in Saskatchewan, and the industry there is really excited about what we've been able to do, end quote. Jay Resso, a retired Canadian professional wrestler who won multiple world championships as part of the WWE, said that the creation of the movie was an incredible experience, and all the work that's gone into it since has been just as impressive. Resso complimented the work and studio space in Regina, and he said that he was impressed by how realistically they were able to depict two intense sports with dedicated fan bases. Quote, to have a movie that's true to both sides of wrestling and MMA to be able to stream on Fight TV, it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. I think it's a real unique and cool opportunity to do something different, end quote. Resso has plenty of experience getting ready for important bouts in wrestling. He said, while the lead up to the stream on May 16th hasn't exactly been like getting ready for a fight, it's felt pretty close, hopefully for the fans too. Quote, you think of the names that are attached to this movie, there's some big names, and it does have some big fight feel appeal to it. Quote, it's the same aspect when you're going out there wrestling in front of a live audience. You're trying to get an emotional connection. It's the same kind of thing with this. You're trying to have your audience have an emotional attachment to the characters involved and want to see one win and one lose. Quote, I think it's silly not to be excited and nervous, Putzluker said. It could only happen this way, and you go right up against the deadline and you're still fighting. Nothing worth having comes easy. Cagefighter Worlds Collide premieres on Fight TV on Saturday, May 16th. Access to the film can be purchased online on Fight TV. Good Lord. Anyway, the point of this article is if you're outside of the U.S., you can watch this movie. Of course, they advertised it on Dynamite too. John Moxley plays one of the two lead characters. It's hard to tell if he's the bad guy or the good guy in this film, or if there was even going to be that. But it's kind of a cool idea, and it looks like AEW footage is going to be featured in this film.
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of shake my head at these movies because they're usually kind of bad.
We're going to see. It does have Mox in it, so I'm going to try to watch it for what it's worth and talk about it on the show. But good, I guess, for Saskatchewan, and it's funny that Christian is there. What a weird pull as a character in the movie, but Pretty cool to see.
You gotta take what you can get, man. Yeah, that's what you pull.
Well, I
you
mean,
pull Christian.
he lives in Canada, right? So I'm sure he's.
Fucking no, I guess. I don't know.
Let's talk about Dynamite. I love the new opening, especially now that they threw in clips from last week into the opening. They threw in the clip of like Sammy getting run over by the golf cart was like in the opening title sequence.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to do it now where like they have the time to sit down and really do it. They don't have to do all the, the traveling between different cities now, and production is pretty locked down. But it's great that they had that just right in there. It's like, that happened. That's a perfect moment for the opening.
Don't get me wrong. I know that it's easy. I still
just love that it's there.
I still love that it's there, and I still wouldn't expect any other company to do that. Because
no, absolutely not.
It would require a modicum of fucking effort, quite frankly. And I don't think certain other companies capable of doing that just because it would be funny, which is the whole reason to put Sammy getting hit by the golf cart in the opening, is just because it's funny.
I feel like if that had not like taken off as well as it did on the internet, it probably wouldn't have been in there. But man, that got launched. That went straight viral this week, and it's been hilarious.
There was a fun atmosphere at ringside throughout the show, I thought. Lance Archer, I love the first thing we saw of Lance Archer was him throwing Sean Dean out of the back, out onto the stage, and just beats on him in the ring.
Just fucking murked this guy who did nothing, and just like dragged out from backstage and thrown around.
I mean, out comes the Snake after that, who grabs a microphone and begins to speak. Jake says that he's been asked to apologize for last week, but then shifts the blame to his victim, Brandy Rhodes, insisting that he is not responsible for what happens to anyone who steps between the ropes when they do not belong there. Quote, "As soon as she kisses my ass, I'll give her an apology." I love Jake. What a fucking psycho, dude.
Good old Jake.
Quote, "As far as I'm concerned, a woman is great at home, cooking, wiping babies' butts, and occasionally, if it's very cold outside, she can keep me warm. I have a woman that comes..."
We didn't really have to go there, but okay.
"I have a woman that comes and sees me." This is the weird one. "But she makes sure that I've been watching Lance's work because it makes me very excited." End quote.
Okay.
Weird line, weird flex, dude. Jake then turns his attention to Cody Rhodes, who loudly revs his engine and barrels into ringside in his Ford F-150 Black Ops, which now, in classic Cody move, has...
It's a 350.
Oh, he when I looked it up, he'd said it was a 150. It's just like supercharged.
I thought it was a 350, like limited edition 350, but okay.
Yeah, and it might be, but when I looked it up, it said 150. And it now has the logo, his logo emblazoned on the hood. Like it's a.
I hope to God that was like a sticker. Because if he's driving that fucking thing around,
there's no way. There's no way it was a sticker. I looked, man. That's fucking painted on there.
I hope not, man. Because like you can never drive that truck around.
Dude, this is a guy who's got his logo tattooed on his fucking neck, dude. So
I mean, fair enough, but still, like he could. I mean, he's also. I mean, I get it. He's recognizable,
right?
Like, walking around and shit. But now when you have that fucking logo and people will now follow you.
I mean, people are going to follow him anyway, dude. People follow him wherever he goes. Even before he had that tattoo. He's 6'5". He lives in the state where he was a big star and his dad was a big star. He's yacked to the goddamn gills, man. He's fucking bleach blonde.
Okay, well, I'll put it to this way: like, even though yes, he did win a wrestling world heavyweight championship or state championship, whatever. Wrestling is still not that big in Georgia.
Sure. It did make me literally go "aw" at the screen because he has his all-in laminate hanging from his rearview mirror still.
Yeah,
clearly
of course
that
you would.
Clearly that show still means a lot to him, which was, and it's not there with a bunch of other laminates. It's just that laminate there.
Just that one, yeah.
Cody steps from his truck in business attire with his hands taped, which is funny. He had time to prepare, but clearly not that much time to prepare. Lance Archer rushes Cody, who, without missing a beat, kicks Archer in the dick, which I loved. A brawl ensues after this. It's fucking awesome. Both of these men try to end it early, but they both have each other well scouted, and it ends in a stalemate, followed by a retreat at the behest of Roberts.
That was a pretty stiff kick to the dick, too.
Dude, he kicked him right in the fucking cock, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love this whole opening scene, and I thought it was a great way to open the show. After this, we get a cool trailer voice who recaps what's been going on in the tags division, and tries to make some semblance of a story leading into Double or Nothing, which is incredibly difficult. And so kudos to him for trying. I note here that it's odd that the refs aren't wearing masks now, but they were on Dark. Strange. I wonder why that decision was made and then overturned after. But, Jurassic Express versus Best Friends was the first actual bout of the night, and it was really wonderful seeing these two teams just have a fucking match after so long. It's funny what we take for granted.
It really is.
The level of execution between these two teams is world class. Pretty small moves in this match, but even those looked like fucking nasty. And everything felt like it just clicked together, and the whole flow. Story elements happened because other story elements have happened. And that's the sort of like narrative structure that you only really get from talents who are at this level.
Yeah, and it's the kind of the thing that you really wanted to see. Like, we know it's been a while since they've had like real matches, so they were using this as a de-rust.
Mm-hmm.
But it was they did it in the way where, like we didn't see with the women's match, which was very, very sloppy.
Yeah. JR's catch-all phrase for the night was to remark that any particular talent that we haven't seen in a while has been, quote, hitting the gym hard, end quote, during quarantine. He said this several times about several different talents, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the only note that he had on his pad. Commercial break showed us the first of many trailers for Cagefighter.
I mean,
on Fight.
We talked about this. He was really in depth in Sonny's OnlyFans. He couldn't drag himself away, and that's that. So, like, one other thing, like, where you saw commercials for the Moxley movie on Fight,
sure.
Yeah, we had no clue that shit was happening on TNT.
Huh. Well, okay. I mean, Fight trying to push its own movie. I get that. I guess, except that I'm supposed to be getting it ad-free, right? But, I honestly preferred the commercials for the movie over what they've been doing lately, which is just like a static screen. Just a static like logo with the theme music. And I think the theme music's a banger, but I don't need to hear it 10 times a night.
Yeah, just the once is enough.
Holy fucking shit, that kick that Orange Cassidy took from Phoenix to the head. Legit fighting game flying kick to the head.
Just took his goddamn head off,
just
man.
A dive kick to motherfucker in the head. Oh my god. Oh man, what a moment!
Like, the whole thing afterwards has been amazing too, because like Chucky T's been on Twitter. It's like, yo, I talked to Orange Cassidy after he took that kick. He told me he saw the future.
It was nuts, man. It was nuts. MJF stiffed Jungle Boy during the chaos, and then Chuck quickly hit Jungle Boy with a brutal awful waffle for the win. And man, what an awful waffle it was. Holy shit. Best friends music kicks on, and that's when Wardlow just murders Marco Stunt for seemingly no reason by throwing him against the barricade.
There.
Yeah, you got in the way. We then get our second Alex Marvez sighting in 1 week as he tries and fails to get a response out of a disgruntled, arriving Jon Moxley. As we move into Penelope Ford versus Hikaru Shida versus Chris Statlander versus Britt Baker. Jonathan, I think your opinion on this differs from mine, so I want to hear it.
I really enjoyed the match overall. I thought it was great. The problem that I had with this match is, okay, so I know Penelope is green.
Right.
She's been doing this for a couple years now, but she's still green. She's still learning, and she's using a lot of her gymnastics and cheerleading as part of her moveset. So she's kind of limited, but she does the moves she knows how to do. She does them well.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I had with this match is Statlander, who obviously hasn't wrestled in 8 weeks, was sloppy as hell and was kind of putting some people in danger by how sloppy she was. Like, Shida landed on her neck in that suplex off of the top rope.
Yeah,
the moves were sloppy, and it was just like, I expect this from Britt, but Britt was doing an okay job.
Yeah, Statlander also had a lift that she did on Penelope, I think, where she almost dropped her.
Yeah, because I guess it was just nerves, but the lift with Penelope is because she was running. Like, if she had just taken a second to pick Penelope up and get a hold, it would have been fine.
I thought that the match was great, and I actually commend everyone in the match, including Britt Baker, for making something that was exciting, but more than that, like, competent. And it felt like they knew where they were going next, where a lot of the women, even the quote super experienced Joshi, have had multi-man matches in this company where there were moments where you were like, they are asking each other what they should do next. And there was some really excellent shell game type sequences that very clearly they would have had to work out ahead of time in order to have everybody in just the right place. And everybody, I thought, came out looking great. Ford and Sabian making out mid-match was weird, and I also thought
it was weird, but it was like perfect.
Yeah, I thought the stranger thing was Baker basically ceding the title shot to Shida. I didn't think that the heat between her and Statlander was that bad. I actually figured that the heat would be more directed at Shida on account of the nose thing. But nevertheless, I did think that Statlander made Lockjaw look really painful on the outside for the first. I think she's the first one that made Lockjaw look like she was getting fucked up. But Shida won with a pin over Ford, while Baker has Lockjaw locked onto Statlander on the outside. Shida will face the AEW Women's Champion Nyla Rose in a no disqualification match at Double or Nothing on May 23rd. Yeah. You didn't have any further thoughts on this match, Jonathan?
I agree. The Baker and Statlander thing, like, I get it, but it was weird that you just kind of threw the title shot for no reason.
Yeah, especially when she also has heat with Shida.
Yeah.
You know? Second Pineapple Pete segment here of the week, and I thought it was fucking money. I thought it was great.
I agree. This was some good shit.
Proud and Powerful versus Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega. I thought this match was also really good. JR openly making fun of Hardy's gimmick on commentary reminded me why I didn't miss him a single time when he was gone. But
it was very uncalled for.
Yeah, it was really weird. It's like, why are you shit talking this guy? Like, Matt Hardy of all people, like, not only is he over as fuck, like, he's also like when he talks shit about Orange Cassidy, it's like, all right, you're out of touch and you're spiteful because the guy's super over and he's young. But Matt Hardy? I'm like, Matt Hardy?
Especially as someone who has called just about all of Matt Hardy's career.
Yeah.
The only thing I can really think of is well, like you said, he is out of touch and he doesn't understand this gimmick.
Right.
But I guess they're just not on the greatest terms.
I guess. I don't know. It was really weird, man. And maybe
Because like he's always very complimentary of Jericho, and it's the same kind of relationship. But like from what I remember, JR called every big match of Matt Hardy's career.
basically, yeah, I would think that he would have at least been in the company when it happened, for the most part. Man, let me tell you though. Let me tell you. When Sammy Guevara came out, my little brother was so pissed, was so fucking angry, because of how the match ended last week with the interference. And so when he saw Sammy Guevara come out, which Sammy Guevara's bit here, him coming out with the neck brace and like,
dude, just selling the fuck out of all this was amazing.
being like stand right there and like lifting the chair, and then the chair gets knocked out of his hands and he's like, oh, come on. So funny. His body language was I mean, nothing funnier than a bad guy in a neck brace, but it was so funny. But oh man, it would have been maybe only half as sweet if I didn't have my little brother right next to me, just very angry that they were interfering again. And even though it wasn't like going well,
the best, like I'll say this, like, if I hadn't already been sold on Sammy from his work that he's done in AEW,
yeah,
this would have been enough to push me over, because he sold it so well, and he was just such a shit heel that's, I'm injured. Why don't you help me with the chair that I'm trying to beat you to death with?
Help me kill you. Hardy ended up pinning Ortiz off of a super twist of fate, and Kenny Omega and Matt ended up shooting finger guns at one another, which I thought was cool. We then get a hilariously awkward Tazz interview.
I like it. I want more of these. These are great.
I really thought this was a cool angle. Tazz tried to explain himself to Darby. He said that Cody built him using a tilt, a very basic amateur wrestling move. And Tazz said that this is where he could help Darby build some fundamentals that he may lack due to his background, which Tazz assumed was ragtag, so to speak. But Tazz was mistaken. Darby knows what a tilt was, and in so many words said that he placed third in Iowa States for amateur wrestling when he was in high school. I love this because there's a lot of layers here. First, there's like the don't judge a book by its cover thing going on to it. But also I just, Tazz isn't wrong. Like, he probably could help Darby, but I love that Darby's like, I'm not mad because I lost. And he sees everything that Tazz is seeing, and he's also like, I should have been able to deal with a tilt. I have that background, so that was really, really cool to see. And I felt like it was a really nuanced interaction between those two characters, which was really nice.
I agree.
We now know 4 participants for the ladder match. And then we actually know
very
5th.
Odd that didn't. Oh, the 5th one was announced today, because I was about to say, it's very odd that they didn't announce someone today. They've been doing that like daily.
It was. They announced someone today. So we know 5 for the ladder match now. Colt, Orange Cassidy, Phoenix, Darby Allin, and Scorpio Sky.
Oh, okay.
5th.
I'm down.
There will be 9 in total. 2 will start. Every 90 seconds, another will join until all 9 have entered. So it's a staggered entrance, multi-man ladder match. The winner will remove a poker chip from the top hanging from the ceiling at the top of the ladder. So That's pretty cool. We then cut to an interview with Sheeta from LXII, which, oh man, I love this scene. Was awesome. Sheeta cuts this adorably straightforward promo where she says that winning the title is the best thing that she could do right now in AEW, so she's gonna beat Nyla. And then Nyla came in and congratulated Sheeta on winning and then said that she brought her a gift. Nyla then smacks Sheeta in the head with the missing kendo stick, which they seeded like weeks and weeks ago, and then said, "I found your kendo stick, bitch."
Yeah, this has been like right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like level of storytelling, and it's like, fuck.
I think
dude.
she legitimately lost it, and they're just playing into it here. But
probably, but like they ran through it on Twitter and everything, and it was a solid gimmick. It was it was fun,
right?
And now it's turned into a thing, and it's made this match even bigger.
But Nyla just delivered, "I found your kendo stick, bitch," and then she turned into the camera and she smirked, and it was awesome. Just an awesome delivery, man. I loved that. And then they announced Orange Cassidy versus Rey Fenix for next week, which is going to be incredible. That's going to be awesome. MJF versus Lee Johnson follows this, and MJF, I think it's safe to say, made an example of Lee Johnson while shouting at everyone at ringside along the way. He won with a shoulder breaker into an arm bar, and I hope that he keeps that combo because I think it's devastating. MJF grabs a mic and says he's excited for his match with Jungle Boy at Double or Nothing, but he wants a tune-up match to knock some of the rust off. He says, quote, "I feel pretty stiff. Don't you agree, Lee?" Which I thought was just unbelievable. Luckily, upon entering the building, MJF managed to see that Marco had an open contract for next week, and he signed his name on the dotted line. So MJF versus Marco Stunt next week in the Go Home to Double or Nothing.
I hope that this means we do get Marco versus Wardlow, so that we can complete that trifecta of Marco getting murked by all the hosses on the roster.
I don't think Marco could take that knee to the face, man. I think his head would
probably
explode.
not, but yeah, it might. But I just we gotta complete the trifecta.
Yeah, you got it. You gotta have him get murdered by everybody. Pineapple Pete versus Chris Jericho. Jericho enters with the Inner Circle, most of whom appear to be in immense pain.
Except that piece of shit caveman that doesn't know how to sell for a fucking lifesaver.
Everybody's selling it. To be fair to the caveman, he didn't really take many moves over the last few days. At least Santana and Ortiz and Sammy Guevara actually took moves. He didn't really take anything. So Jericho has on a Pineapple Pete t-shirt and a baseball bat in his other hand, an aluminum baseball bat. Jericho slaps Pete. Pete looks into the lens and says something that got bleeped. Motherfucker, maybe? I don't know what he said.
I'm thinking it was probably to the effect of motherfucker.
Yeah. Pete has like a minute of good offense and then runs full speed into a Judas effect, which R.I.P. Pete. But I loved it because I was like, win, Pete, like beat Chris Jericho on a one-off and just have it be like a big blemish on Chris Jericho's record. But instead they went the other way with it, and they were like, no, of course he's not going to win. Chris Jericho's way better than him. And I just love that they built it, really making me feel like they built it so well. I was like, Pete, it's got to be Pete. And then he hit him, and I was like, oh, no, right, Jericho's really good.
I mean, it all made sense in the end, but it was like, oh, okay, homie's got a chance here. And then, nope, that was just false hope. It was on purpose.
Jericho takes a mic and turns his attention to the Elite. He says, that's if they're even still a thing anymore. I mean, we haven't seen their guys in like 2 months. I heard Hangman Page quit the business, and he's bushwhacking in the forests of North Carolina picking berries. He says, meanwhile, Nick and Matt Jackson sit at home pouting at how great Le Champion and the Inner Circle are, end quote. But Jericho says that the Inner Circle are honorable men. He then asks Sammy to translate that to Spanish, and Sammy says, El Honorable.
Honorable is like, that's, no.
Jericho challenges the Elite to a, quote, stadium stampede match, which he indicates is a street fight like last week, except that it takes place within all of Jag's stadium, which will be crazy. He also says that the Inner Circle will wait all night until they get a response. And that's when Vanguard 1 flies down from the ceiling with the goddamn shirt still hanging on him, which is incredible. I love that. Apparently, Jericho had taken out warrants for Vanguard's arrest in 7 states. So it's good that he returned the shirt. Jericho
It really is, yeah.
Jericho asks if the Elite accepts the challenge, and we see the words "we accept" flash across Vanguard's POV. And I like that last week they were live. This week they were taped, and they actually used the fact that they were taped to get some shots that they probably wouldn't have done live. Mainly these Vanguard POV shots. So,
yeah, they've kind of said a couple times that with Vanguard, they can't do those on a live setting because really the wind is against them, especially at Daly's place.
right. Jericho then rescinds his invitation to Vanguard 1 to join the Inner Circle because Jericho has found the 6th member, an aluminum baseball bat that he's named Floyd. Jericho then...
I up until then, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's really wholesome. I love this. We're gonna do this," and then it
Right.
just.
Jericho then introduces Floyd to Vanguard by bashing him out of the air and repeatedly smashing him to pieces. And the whole Inner Circle just passed the bat around and hit this thing like it's a printer on the last day at the office, right?
Yeah, it was very much an Office Space moment.
And they continue to destroy and flip off Vanguard until Hardy comes to make the save. And I love this sort of like war movie moment with Matt Hardy just clutching Vanguard 1. I felt like I would have liked to have seen more emotionality from him over it, but maybe, I mean, it could have gone way too over the top too, and been a problem, but I would have liked to have seen him yell no into the camera above him, you know? The Inner Circle scatters as Matt picks up the biggest pieces of his fallen friend, who is shattered. And I think this should have closed the show, personally. I think the way that they set it up was really weird and anticlimactic, but I think this was the big emotional moment for the show. But
I understand the ending it on the Brody match. You know, you're building up this that he's now the number 1 contender, and you've been building this big gimmick with the Dark Order all this time. So I get it, but I feel like going out on Vanguard 1 would have been a much more emotional highlight.
Yeah,
especially because you just set up this insane match for your big pay-per-view. But I mean, I enjoyed the Brody match. It was all right, but
next week, MJF versus Marco Stunt, a face-to-face between Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts. Phoenix versus Orange Cassidy. John Moxley versus 10. Matt Hardy versus fake Latino Sammy Guevara. And Iron Mike. They also announced that Iron Mike Tyson will present the TNT title at Double or Nothing.
They also said the women's championship match will be a no DQ, no countout match.
Yes. And which is really cool. The Iron Mike choice, to talk briefly about it. I mean, he's an unbelievably famous figure of combat sports, and having him involved isn't surprising. He was at the last Double or Nothing. He's a friend of Jericho's. So to have him on the show is like it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have him present that title. They've kind of come under fire for it because of the rape conviction that he had years ago. But
sure, but we're going about the rape accusation, not that he bit a guy's fucking ear off.
yeah, that's a bigger deal. This man bit a man's ear off. I mean, he definitely bit that guy's ear off. I love the quote as we get into this Christopher Daniels versus Brody Lee match from Jon Moxley at the end, where he says, "I can admire guts, I can admire seizing the opportunity, but I do not suffer disrespect. On May 23rd, there will be a hailstorm of violence. And when the dust settles, Mr. Lee, you may find that your AEW career is over before it started." Jon Moxley says at the end of this Chris Daniels versus Brody Lee match. Now, the Chris Daniels versus Brody Lee match, I fell asleep during when I watched the show live. I thought it was a really weird choice for a main event. A sort of payoff to what I felt was a dead story, with kind of a boring match and a babyface that has very little momentum behind him. And it felt like an enhancement match, really weirdly, except it was long and CD isn't an enhancement talent.
Yeah, it was just weird.
I did like SCU and Colt and the Dark Order getting involved and canceling each other out, and Brody kicking out of both of CD's finishes. Brody ended up taking the win, and then Mox came running in for the beatdown. But Brody and 10 make themselves scarce with the belt as Mox just beat on the stragglers, and then, of course, cut his promo at the end. But man, CD, Christopher Daniels has such this legacy behind him of his ROH work and his work on the indies, and pretty much every match he's had in AEW that I've seen has been like, oof, guys.
And it's pretty much kind of because like he's well past his prime.
Sure.
And like, I mean, he had a good match at All Out against Stephen Amell because
All in.
Stephen Amell was very
all in. Yeah.
all in. Sorry, even Amell was on his level and very green, so they could go slow and make it look good. But with any talent that's not, a brand new wrestler, CD's not going to look great.
I thought he had an okay match with
Especially
Shima too, though.
He had a great match with Shima, but like I think they have that corresponding style.
Yeah.
And Brody's more of like, we're going fast and I'm going to beat the fuck out of you kind of guy. Like Moxley. That's why that Moxley match is going to be so intense.
It was just really weird, man. And we're going to talk more about Double or Nothing next week when we're going to have most of the full card. It's the AEW, so like we're not. Sometimes you don't even know until like days away from the actual event. We're very close on the card. The only reason why I'm saying we don't talk more about it this week is because we're already pretty long this week.
We are, but like there's already 7 or 8 matches.
Yeah, it's going to be a big show. People can order it, of course, through Fight TV internationally or Bleacher Report live in the United States. It's interesting to see because I do have my gripes about Bleacher Report live at this point, so I don't know if I'm going to go through them, but we'll have to see. That was the end of the episode. AEW pulling 654,000 to NXT's 604,000, which is a significant drop for both of them and is an all-time series low for AEW, which is sad because I thought it was actually a really good show. It's becoming increasingly clear that at least a significant portion of the audience really cares whether or not the broadcast is live, because we saw the numbers dip for weeks on end when they were taped, and then they went live and the numbers shot up, and then we knew that this week's episode was taped and the numbers dropped again. So,
and I mean, I guess maybe like there's people knowing, oh, okay, it's a taped episode, I'll just watch it later.
Right.
Or I guess, I don't know, that's the only thing I could think of, but it's like, you could do that if it's live. I don't see what the real difference is. Like, if either you're in for the product or you're not in for the product.
Yeah, it's strange to me, but I watch it live every week because that's what we do, right? So, like, I don't know what my habits would be if I wasn't hosting this show the next day. And if I didn't have such an awesome community of people to talk with over at tinyurl.com/scene, the smooth transitions this week. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. If you really want to be in with the crew, in with our amazing community of AEW fans from all over the world, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Once again, if you want to become one of our best friends, one of our inner circle, if you want to get in on movie night this Saturday night when we watch Mortal Kombat at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite and subscribe to the boys. Thanks to all of you who have watched the show live. Thanks to our patrons, Adam Dyson, Ale Avoth, Alejandro Diaz, Andre Gunther, Andrew Garrett, Benjamin Thomas. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck is a patron now?
What the fuck? Our patron, what the fuck? Bill Laviolette, Billy Richardson, Billy St. John, BossBadger, Chai Latte, Chris Genro, Christian Baltimore, Cody Faig, Elliot Muhlenfeld, Gary Rains, James Kennamer, Jim Ross, Joseph Pesicow, Keith Czulno, Kevin Bartlett, Kristan, Mark Morgan, Merman, Peter Risby, Sean Henniger, Travis Ulrich, and Tailgate Tiger. You guys are awesome, and you help keep the show together.
SMTM that you missed.
Oh, did I skip SMTM? SMTM's my boy. He knows that. You guys are so awesome. You help keep the show going. It's such an incredible, monumental thing for us, and there's nothing more that we love than the people who, man, in this time find the resources to help support what we do here over at the show. We're always going to be here for you guys because it means so much to us. I don't have anything else to give you guys before we get out of here. Maybe Jonathan does, but I don't know.
No, doubtful. Just come watch movie night.
Movie night's
Oh, and for people asking, like, we do not record movie night.
Yeah.
I know it's been brought up a couple times. Like, that's really just if you're here, awesome. If not, no worries.
Yeah. And it's up to you if you want to show up or not. There's no pressure. But we're gonna have a lot of fun watching Mortal Kombat together. Other than that, we'll be back next week with the go home to Double or Nothing. Until then, stay in and change the world.